In horror stories, there's a recurring role that serves as both a warning and a boundary between the natural and the supernatural. Never open the door to unexplained knocks at night. That sound, especially in the stillness of 3 a.m., is more than just an eerie interruption of sleep. It's an invitation wrapped in the illusion of normalcy. 3 slow, deliberate knocks at your door when you're not expecting anyone should trigger instinct, not curiosity. Yet it's human nature to want to understand, to seek answers, to make sense of the unknown. And that desire becomes dangerous when facing forces that don't play by human rules. The knock is a test, not of strength, but of will. It's a bait left by something that wants in, something that cannot enter unless you allow it. That's why these knocks never come with force. They're never loud enough to suggest danger. They're subtle, polite, even designed to lower your defenses. Opening the door is not just a physical action, but a symbolic one. It's granting permission to something that has been waiting, watching, and calculating the right moment. Many who open the door expecting to find a lost neighbor, a prankster, or someone in need often find nothing at all. And yet something crosses the threshold with them as they close the door again. From that moment, the space is no longer safe. The knocking may stop, but strange sounds begin. Shadows behave differently. The air feels colder. Technology malfunctions. Mirrors begin to reflect things that shouldn't be there. You question your sanity, but deep down, a part of you knows it started the moment you turned that handle. That simple act of curiosity turned into consent. In folklore across the world, spirits, demons, and other malevolent beings often require an invitation. It's a rule they must obey, a boundary they cannot cross without your help. That's why the knock comes instead of a break-in. That's why there's no forced entry. Because you must choose to engage. You must open the door. You must say yes. And if you do, whatever is on the other side doesn't leave. It stays. It lingers in corners, follows you through rooms, and eventually becomes a part of your daily routine. And once it's inside, it never knocks again because it no longer needs to ask permission. Paranormal entities often follow a precise pattern or time. And that consistency is what makes them so terrifying. Unlike human intruders who act randomly or impulsively, supernatural forces move with purpose. When something knocks at the same time every night, say, exactly 3 a.m., it isn't a coincidence. That time has meaning. It's deliberate. Many cultures and spiritual traditions refer to 3 a.m. as the devil's hour, the period where the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. It's when malevolent energies are said to be most active and when protection is weakest. So when something chooses to manifest at this hour, it's not just doing it for drama. It's doing it because that's when it's strongest. Patterns are the language of the paranormal. Spirits repeat behavior. They knock the same number of times, appear in the same mirror, cry from the same corner of the room. It's like they're following a ritual that can't be broken. These patterns are often the only clue that something unnatural is occurring. The moment you realize the timing isn't random, that's when the fear shifts from uncertainty to dread. A one-time knock could be anything, but when it happens every single night at the same minute, that's no longer chance. It's a message. It means you're being watched. It means you've been marked. The repetition wears you down psychologically. You begin to anticipate it. You stare at the clock as the hour approaches, your breath shallow, your body tense. And the more you notice the pattern, the more real it becomes. Because these entities don't just rely on fear, they feed off attention. The more you acknowledge them, the more powerful they grow. What once was a harmless knock becomes a full-blown presence. And what once felt like coincidence becomes your new reality. Technology may reveal what the eyes can't see, And that's what makes it such a chilling tool in horror. Cameras, audio recorders, and other devices often capture anomalies that go unnoticed by the human senses. A door that opens on its own. A whisper that wasn't heard during recording but plays back clearly on the audio. A shadow passing behind. You when there was no one there. These moments, caught in still frames or grainy footage, confirm something you hoped wasn't real. They strip away the luxury of doubt and force you to confront the reality that something unnatural is sharing your space. When a camera records 3 distinct knocks, but the footage shows an empty hallway, logic begins to dissolve. Because how? Do you explain a door opening when no one touched it? Or a voice whispering when no one was present? People often install cameras for safety to protect against intruders. But in horror scenarios, those devices become witnesses to things you'd rather not see. They offer a second perspective, one that isn't limited by fear or disbelief. While your eyes might deceive you, a lens simply records. And when it shows something impossible, you can't unsee it. Sometimes it's just a glimpse of a blurry face outside a window, a figure standing in the hallway that vanishes in the next frame. But those glimpses are enough to change everything. Once evidence exists, denial is no longer an option. Technology doesn't just reveal the presence of something sinister, it often becomes the target of it. Batteries drain for no reason. Files become corrupted. Glitches appear at exactly the wrong moments. It's as if the entity doesn't want to be seen, but can't resist showing itself anyway. That contradiction becomes the source of constant tension, as if the thing haunting you is playing a game only it understands isolation intensifies. Supernatural influence because it removes all the distractions and noise of everyday life that would otherwise dilute the experience. When someone is alone, especially in a new or unfamiliar environment, they become more sensitive to every creak in the floorboards, every gust of wind rattling the windows, every flicker of the lights. The human brain, when stripped of company and comfort, begins to fill the silence with possibilities. Paranormal entities thrive in this vacuum, using the quiet to make their presence known in the subtlest of ways. A knock at 3 a.m. becomes deafening when there's no one else around to rationalize it. A shadow in the corner becomes terrifying when there's no one to confirm whether it's real or not. Being isolated also means you have no immediate second opinion. No one to tell you that what you saw was just your imagination or that the voice you heard was just the pipes. Every strange event starts to weigh heavier because you're the only witness. You start doubting your own sanity while simultaneously believing something is genuinely wrong. This mental tug-of-war opens the door, even wider for whatever presence might be lingering nearby. Fear grows faster when it's not shared. Paranormal forces seem to feed on that growing dread, gaining strength as your sense of reality begins to erode. The more time spent alone, the more the presence begins to shape your environment. The knocking gets louder. The whispers become clearer. You begin to feel watched at all times, even when the lights are on. You sleep less, eat less, stop talking to others about what's happening because you're afraid they'll think you're crazy. That emotional distance deepens the isolation further, pulling you into a space where only you and the entity exist, and everything else fades into irrelevance. Some places don't let you leave once you're chosen, and that's what turns a haunting into a trap. It begins subtly, with little barriers, an elevator that won't arrive, a stairwell that somehow loops back to the same floor, a front door that opens into another hallway instead of the outside world. These strange limitations don't feel like physical problems. They feel like the place itself is responding to your attempts to escape. The building becomes a living maze, bending reality just enough to keep you inside. At first, you try to rationalize it. Maybe you're tired, disoriented, or imagining things. But after the third or fourth time, ending up in the same hallway, the truth starts to set in. You're not just stuck, you're being kept. Being chosen doesn't always happen with a dramatic event. Sometimes it's as simple as opening the wrong door at the wrong time or acknowledging the wrong presence. And once you do, the rules change. You're no longer a guest in that space. You're part of it. The entity or force begins to reshape your environment around you. It doesn't just haunt the location anymore, it haunts you specifically. Your phone stops working. Windows show scenes that don't match the real world outside. Time seems to warp. Minutes stretch into hours. The layout of the building might even begin to shift subtly, with doors appearing where none existed before and familiar, rooms becoming unfamiliar. The worst part is the growing realization that no one else can help. People outside the building might not experience any of the strange phenomena you're facing. If you call for help, they won't understand. If they come to visit, they might not see anything wrong. Or worse, they might step inside and become trapped too, unknowingly pulled into the same web that's holding you captive.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.